Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Yes, I said that because we have a large audience coming from different countries. So thank you very much for joining our first Data Plus Women Zurich event of 2022. For the one who don't know what Data Plus Women is an initiative to promote women working with our own data. And really, our goal is to promote and celebrate first women, the achievement, and that we can all learn from each other. In case you're interested to speak, please contact us in social media, in Twitter, or whatever platform you want. I'm Annabelle Rincon. I'm a visual analytic lead for Fontobel. I'm leading the Tableau Center of Enablement. And I have the chance to do that since almost 1 year and a half with Olivia, who is a data scientist at Migros. I'm particularly happy to be here today, and I will not introduce Laure, but I will just say 2 words about her. I will let Olivia introduce her formally. I'm very, very proud that she accepted to come today, because Laure is a reason why I am so involved with Tableau and of my passion for visual analytics, because she is the one that gave me my first job in Switzerland. So thank you, Laure, for all you did for me. And I think that we all need Laure as a manager at one moment in our life. Thank you. I will let Olivia introduce her formally now.
So hello, everyone. Thank you, Annabelle, for introducing me, and a warm welcome also from my side. I'm super excited for this first event in the new year. As already being mentioned, Laure will today talk about machine learning, specifically about inventory classification at Ricardo. Who is Laure? Let's wait. Well, Annabelle already has a very personal story with her, and I will now formally introduce her, but then let her speak for herself, and she will tell us what she's actually doing. I mean, she's head of data intelligence at Ricardo. She has already experience for over 15 years in several industries. She was working in banks, telcos, airline booking systems, and has now specialized in basically defining and implementing data strategies for online and e-commerce companies like Ricardo. Yeah, so we are very interested to see what she has to tell us as a head of data intelligence. She is leading a few different, let's say, data career types like data engineers, data scientists, business analysts. So as you can see, she is coping with a lot of different people and with a lot of different problems. So I'm very happy to listen to what Laure has to say, and now I can say the stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, girls, for the introduction. So you all came tonight to hear a red shoe story, right? So I have first good news for you. We're going to talk about red pumps, so you're at the right place. You may tell me that red pumps are not really the best type of shoes for running a marathon, but we are also going to talk about a marathon, the classification project marathon that we ran at Ricardo. So it all started back then in December 2019. Remember, crowded Christmas markets, people wearing no masks, feel like a lifetime ago, right? So back then, in December 2019, a bunch of people at Ricardo, for the ones who don't know Ricardo, here is our official one-pager. Please bear with some anachronism there, because at that point in time, we're not yet part of the Swiss Marketplace group, but that's now our official one-pager. But I have also a non-official one, which is one I like very much because it shows how many crazy people we have in there in that team. And if you still need another proof, this is our CEO in the middle row. So additional proof of our craziness. And all these people actually believe that there would be a way to have a more sustainable consumption in Switzerland. So right now, in the Swiss retail that is non-food, only 2% of the Swiss non-food retail is secondhand. This number is quite low. And there are many initiatives and ideas at Ricardo that we try to implement to actually make that number grow. And one of them that we had was actually trying to classify our inventory differently. So what do I mean with that? Maybe words, bit of clarification. Right now, if you want to sell something secondhand pair of shoes on one of these websites, so Tutti, Ricardo, and Ibis, how similar are this project or this product that you see on the screen? Well, they have the same shoe type, right? They are looking like pumps, they are red, they even have some sizes in common. So actually they are quite similar. But unfortunately, when you want to list something on one of these platforms, you actually give a title, an image, but the only way for you as a seller to tell us what this product is giving us a category, putting it in the right category. And these categories could be quite broad, like the first one, we see only dimensions, so shoes for women, or quite detailed, actually, already including pumps or size, etc. Is that actually the right approach? Well, in the end, a shoe will always be a shoe. That won't change over time, right? And with most probably some characteristic, as we saw, some size, some color, and most probably other types of attributes that could be meaningful to define the product. This is exactly how our classification project was born, trying to understand how we can classify our inventory into products and which kind of attributes are actually meaningful to define the products and make them more easy to find for buyers. So now we have a concept. That's cool. What's the next step? Well, going to our beloved management and of course, pitching this wonderful project. So this is exactly what we did. We went to management and there, of course, very valid questions are raised. Things like, yeah, well, actually you could maybe buy a tool, or data scientists could do a classification model for us. Or do we actually want to do this at all? Because that sounds quite complex and we don't really know if we want to invest in that. So all very valid questions that we go one by one. First, to the first one, we could buy a tool. Well, problem is that on secondhand marketplaces, you have very broad inventory, different kind of verticals. Could be mobile phones, could be the second one that you see, which are actually coffee cream lids or hand trophies. So it's very difficult to have out of the shelf tool that will making it work for everything. So that's the first thing that is not really possible. Second one, data scientists could do a classification model for us. Of course, they could. But then if we talk about classification model, that means that we need to know already all our product types, all our classes we want to classify into. And on the top of that, we didn't talk only about product types. We also talked about attributes and actually also their values, like also knowing which brand it is and this kind of things. And here we come back a bit to the same problem. We have a quite broad inventory, quite big number of attributes. So that still feels a bit challenging. We cannot start immediately with classifying that. And second one, well, we see that this project is going to be complicated. So why do we even want to start it? Well, with classification, you can achieve a lot. We want, for example, to have a search experience in all 4 languages. That's something that could help us to improve this search experience. We also want to have a better supply. If we know what our buyers are looking for, like which kind of brand for a jacket or which kind of skis, that can help us to source a better inventory that fits their needs. We also want to have very good recommendations at the right point in time, or being able to detect fraudulent article like fake Rolex or this kind of things. So these are just a couple of applications for that project. And yeah, it brings actually a lot of uplift. So that could still be meaningful to try to find a solution to that problem. So what did we do? We started with a proof of concept and trying to define how we're going to get there for the proof of concept. So first good thing, we don't start from scratch. We have a history, 20 years of history at Ricardo. So there are a couple of things we already know. What do we already know? Well, I already said it, we have categories. And for some of these categories, they are actually not so far from a product type. And the lucky thing is also that these categories are already translated. So these words are already in several languages. So by data mining a bit our categories, we were able to identify 379 product types, actually 378 plus an unknown, where it would be the bucket one. And yeah, we had our first definition of product type. So what did we do? As I said, when you come to the website, you will start by inserting a title in 4 languages that are allowed on Ricardo, and you will give us some pictures most probably. We're talking about a proof of concept. So for all the people who are in the call who already worked with pictures, you know that's quite challenging. Building a classification model for pictures, it will be time consuming. We need a lot of images. So our first proof of concept, we say, hey, let's go with Google Vision to get some tags from this image, thanks to Google Vision, and let's try with this. It not to invest into a custom model in the beginning. So we did that, and then we could say that this title, this image, actually could be classified as a product type. And as we saw it already, we know that shoe is already translated into chaussure, scarpa, and so we already have this translation. With this approach, we expected to have around 75% already of our inventory that could be more or less mapped to a product. Not bad, right? Good start. But then if you remember what I said in the beginning, it's not only about product types, that's also about attributes. How are we going to get there? That's even more challenging, right? But good thing is we have searches. Our users are coming to our websites, they are searching for keywords, and we already have the product types defined as we have seen that. And then we know that a search query, which kind of products are then accessed by this search query, what they are returned in the search result page and on the product detail page afterwards. So we know which user search and which user keyword leading to a category on an article or an article. And with a little bit of brain and thinking a bit about it, and of course also some external API calls, for example, some Google APIs who can tell us that Christian Louboutin here on the example is actually an organization, or with the translation API that can tell us this word is translation for that one, or actually cannot be translated. So that's maybe another type of word. We were able to identify 447 attribute types. So what I mean with attribute types could be brand, size, couple of material at that stage, but really naive approach, and around 1,000 attribute values. So real brands and real values for sizes and stuff like that. Well, good. We have POC, we have something. Looks promising, but does it work? If we want to know how it works, we need to put it in front of our sellers to know if this model works and if they understand it. So what did we do? We brought this model to our listing form. So when you enter a title here and the image here, we would suggest you some product type. So a top 3, a selection of top 3 product type. And when you select one, we will also show some detail attributes that you can fill for this product. So like for the shoes, the shoe type or the brand or some color, the size, etc. So what happened? I'm sure that you want to hear some numbers. Well, not so bad. We had a 72% accuracy for the top 1 suggestion of the model, 83% if we consider the top 3. And our sellers were giving us some attribute field. Around 60% of the open articles had at least one attribute field. So they went through this form and gave us some information about the product. Quite good, but we're not there, right? I mean, we shouldn't really rest on our laurels. We just have 70-something% of the inventory covered, and we want to move forward. We want to classify all our inventory. Otherwise, that doesn't really bring the value we want to give. So good news again, we still have our user search queries. Actually 13 million of search keywords that we have on the platform. And again, they can be linked to which product types or attributes were viewed. Like here in the example for the IKEA dresser, then we can see that what will be in the results page, which kind of product type will be shown, which kind of brand, etc. And then same thing. We have our data lake processing all these keywords. So we have this information on a daily basis, and with a hit of brain, and again, with some external API calls, the same I already mentioned, a bit of organization, bit of translation. This is how we brought the curation tool concept. So what is it? It's a tool, it's said in the name. And in this curation tool, you will get some suggestions. So on the top, the first example, we could say that, for example, this name jet ski is leading mainly to unknown product type or both, for example. And then here we can take some action. Do we actually want to create a new jet ski product type because it's unknown, or do we want to create a subtype of both? And then somebody can act on this suggestion. Second example, more for attributes. Here with the brand, so a Sport Max that we see, it's coming all over again with the coat within the coat product type. Maybe that's something that we want to add to that product type to have this brand live on our website. And plus, we also do some kind of distinct synonyms, so common misspellings. So on top, then we can also add that. So we had this curation tool release, and what happened? So we had around 30 curation suggestions a day. It takes 1 hour per day, more or less, to handle this suggestion. But when we click on add, like for example, the Spot Max example, it goes directly to production. So it will be instantly live for a seller, and they could select this brand afterwards. We are doing model retraining for product types and attributes more or less every 6 or 7 weeks to get new product type on top and to also retrain on the ones that are ambiguous. And right now we reached 700 product types. So remember, it was 378 in the beginning. We have 99.5% of the posted article that have a known product type. So really a big improvement. And the biggest ones are mainly on attributes, where it was really multiplied. So the attribute types such as brand, but we also have now subtypes, for example, chair, that is a garden chair or a kitchen chair, this kind of things. So we can define, multiply by 3 the number of attribute types that we define. And the big bang is really, of course, on values, where it's multiplied by 25, where we had a lot of brands and values for this subtype that are actually meaningful attributes that we want to have in our taxonomy. And right now we are around 70% of posted article with at least 1 attribute. Super cool. We have everything classified, well done, but does it actually create any value? Super nice that we have it, but as long as we don't create any value for users, we don't really know, right? So how can we create value with this taxonomy? One of the first things I mentioned on the sticky notes that you had in the beginning was the optimization in the 4 languages. If you look for escarpins rouges, rotées pumps, red high heels, I won't say it in Italian because my Italian is a disaster, but that's the same thing that goes into red high heels. So we know that these keywords will lead to the same thing, or we're actually looking for the same thing. We released an A/B test that you see on the right, and we had actually a very nice uplift in our bid bin conversion, so meaning our bidding, because Ricardo is also an auctioning platform, or buy it now, so or direct offers. And observed that we had quite a good uplift there in our conversion rate. Second thing that we can do is the ranking file. When you're looking for IKEA, that's a bit of an open search. What do you want to see when you're looking for IKEA? It could be a dresser, could be belt, could be couch, whatever. How can we arrange that in a better way that our users are happier and with these results and convert more? So we used the data that we talked about before, and we updated that ranking file based on product type to basically show that most of the time that's better to show shelf on top and then the wardrobes and that. And we also had a quite nice uplift in our revenue per session. That was our KPI for that A/B test when it was implemented. Third one, what's I think a more obvious one maybe, the recommendations on the website. So there are different types of recommendations, of course. The first one on the left is about similar articles. So the shoes are quite similar, and we implemented this in our marketing email. So that's offline recommendation for now. And we also observed a 13% uplift. Here I need to specify that it's not versus no recommendation at all. It's versus a category-based recommendation. So the incremental information we got for the product thanks to the taxonomy. So this is tested and is currently being released to 100%. And then there's also connected articles, which are still work in progress. So connected articles could be the box bag and the box gloves, or the helmet and the bike, this kind of things. So that's also another logic where we can implement this kind of things and use the taxonomy. That is currently being testing. So here, no numbers, unfortunately, not yet. But there are also more. It could be also trending articles on the left. So we know that on Ricardo, bikes are selling the best here in April, what you can see, and it will slowly grow from January to April and then slowly go down there. Or for the ice skating shoes, the best season there, the peak will be more around November and December. So here we could also make recommendation for our sellers to be putting their inventory online at the right point in time in the season. And there are also other use cases, but that could be one. And the one on the right could be user interest or predictive sell. If you look at this wonderful customer, he's interested into gamings and laptops. And yeah, we can know that based on what his interest is, we could recommend things that are close to his interest. But we also see that he bought or looked at baby clothes quite a lot in the past time. And then thanks to also some modeling, we can know that he can be interested also into baby furniture in the near future, this kind of things. So that's also part of the recommendation use cases that we are considering. And again, to be currently checking, but no numbers yet on that one. And last but not least, but that was actually the most obvious one, so that's why it's the last one, adding more filters. We get this information, so why we don't just put it in our search result page to help our user to refine their searches. Like here, we added the brand or the color to the handbag type of searches. Here, partial results, because it's mainly in one vertical, but also a very nice uplift in our revenue per session. And more deep dive a little bit, we currently mainly focusing on fashion. So in fashion, we already implement a little bit of these 4 things that I just mentioned. So finally, a Tableau chart, very crappy. I'm sorry for that, but at least it's a Tableau one, right? I made the effort. And it's showing the sell-through rate for posted articles, taxonomy, so product type and attributes versus categories. So you can see that we also have a nice uplift in the conversion for posted articles that could be classified where we have more information about the taxonomy. Very good. So we collected all that things, super nice. But in the end, we are requiring more efforts from our sellers. They need to fill more and more things. That's also not really what we want to do, right? We want to keep their life easy. Otherwise, why it will be a lot of effort to provide us with this information. So here in our listing form, what we want to implement is also doing, well, that's already implemented partly, but we can also detect some of the attributes. Like here, based on the title and the pictures, we could already know that it's a pump type of shoes. So we can already recommend that or pre-fill that. So we already have one version that is in production, but we are still working on the best design to help the users to select it. So right now, as I mentioned, we are 62% with attributes and 56% of attributes that are available are currently filled. And we expect a nice uplift to 70 and 65 based on the A/B test and our regular model retraining. So we think that it will improve our coverage, because in the end, if we don't improve the coverage, we cannot use the information we don't have, right? So it's a little bit also our focus to implement to have better coverage in our articles. And again, final rule, last but not least, nothing can be done without a great team. So of course, a very good data intelligence team. So here is the data intelligence team at Ricardo, made of data scientists, data engineers, business analysts. So yeah, that was really tough work, of course, for our team, but we also needed more people, of course. That's not only the data intelligence team, many more people who supported us. More data scientists, but also backend engineers, search engineers, front-end engineers, PMs, translators. So a lot of people. So I take the opportunity to say thank you again to them for the ones who are part of this call. And yeah, so that was our classification survival kit. So the seven rules that I wanted to share with you. This manual, this handbook, we actually using it. It's not like we did it and then, yeah, there are more initiatives that I will just tell you a bit what happened since then, since we are talking. So in the beginning, I told you that we didn't want to invest time into building our own image classifier. Well, now we actually did it. We have our own image classifier for product type, being able to take the image and see in which of the 700 product types it goes. We have similar to slightly better performance than with the Google Vision one. So that was one that is already done. Then things that are in progress. We are also building our own image classifier for fashion. Some examples here for the red shoes. We are able to detect the color of the shoe or the shoe type and stuff like that already from the picture, or the material here, the denim jacket. That's also something that could be detected from the picture. So we are currently working on that. Soon released. So if you want to test it and you have things to list, feel free to come and test. We mentioned the release, the similar articles thing that we are currently releasing to 100%. So knowing that the skirt is similar to the ones that I'm showing on the screen, and a bit more with connected articles. So this baby carrier can be also connected to other baby equipment, like the car seat or this kind of things. We will implement that in our emails. So again, that's offline, but that's not all right, because if you have a good recommendation in the emails and you come to the website, but in the end, for whatever reason, the product is too high priced, or it's not exactly the needs, you also need to have a good similar article recommendation down on the product detail page. And here it's a bit more architecture, because then it becomes like live recommendation. We also want to know a bit what you did in your session. So that requires a bit more architecture work. So we are also considering and working on that, and we work on the live recommendation systems. And what I already a bit advertised on the first slides, we are now part of the Swiss marketplace groups, which mean other websites, which means other types of products. One of this vertical, if you know a couple of websites, HomeGate or AutoScout, MotoScout, selling more apartments or cars or motorcycles. So we could then work also on extending our taxonomy, working with other types of products to replicate these kind of things. And yeah, there will be then more use case, more things to work on, so which makes us quite happy in the team. And yeah, so that's all I wanted to share with you. Ping us wherever, and I'm happy to take questions if you have.
Thank you, Laure, for the great presentation. It was super interesting. And I think, or I hope, that our audience has a lot of questions. At least I have some. So if you are having some burning questions, please feel free to drop it either in the chat or in the Q&A box. We now have a little bit of time to respond to all your burning questions. All right. So we already have one, right? So if possible, questions more on your main trends and business. You showed that pre-COVID had only 2% of non-food market is the second-hand market. How much is it now after COVID? Feeling that the trend is going fast. This is the first question.
So the numbers that I have here, the 2% are actually 2020. So I don't have more recent, but the one that I shared, it's not like 2019. That's the last one we got from 2020.
Okay. The second would be, how does Ricardo compete with Marketplace or Facebook?
So of course, that's a big challenge for us. That's also why we are constantly trying to update our products and make it easy try to make it easy, at least for buyers and sellers, right? That they see the value of using our platforms, and also about trust and safety on the platform. So that's really something that we take quite seriously. We are still the leading ones, but we really want to bring value and stay, of course, meaningful for this kind of articles and secondhand articles.
Then another question would be, how long did it take for the team to build the prototype?
Well, to be honest, the product there was not the worst part. So we started and I said, end of December, we had the first version of the model. I think between December and February, we had something. And the thing was to bring it more to our listing form. That took a bit of time. How we can, because when we brought it to the listing form, what was important to us is to not pre-select things. Because if we pre-select things, then the user could just skip it, and then our model cannot learn, right? So we took a lot of time to think about that, how we can have a good design that is good for listers. There's not like too much effort, but on the other hand, that gives us meaningful data that we collect to use to learn for our models. So the first version of the models and the image thing, it was quite fast. Was a couple of I would say 4 weeks max. We had the first version of the models, but then it was really about ramping it up, making it also scalable, could handle the calls from production. This kind of stuff took longer.
Wow, a great team you have there. Great effort.
Well, you know what it is. I mean, the thing is, we have our data lake, and the pictures is also something that we could get quite easy. Well, people who did it won't say that's super easy, but still we got it fast. Let's say we didn't have to wait for a lot of time. And when you have data already accessible, that also helps, right? To speed up on that thing, so you can really focus on the model faster.
Yeah. Then another question about, how about GMV of used articles? Any significant uplift thanks to classification?
So the thing I've shown was around posting in mainly used fashion, because that's second-hand fashion that I showed. So the uplift with this sell-through rate on one of the slides. Was there more? You mean globally through verticals? I'm not sure I fully got the question.
Maybe if you can clarify, if possible, also in the box, because, or in the chat, we cannot unmute you, I think. We can just wait a minute and we go on to the next question, and then we go back to the other question. So another question, also quite interesting. Are you running the project through Agile methodology?
Well, that was a bit, when I say survival handbook, that means also it's Agile, right? Because otherwise you do not survive this kind of project. Yeah, I mean, we had quite an iterative approach. We really had, I mean, we are thinking every morning in the team, trying to really get things leading to prototype and iterating on that. It was not started. I think it's a bit visible in the slide. At least I hope that we really started to build something, iterate, bring it to people, because it was not the idea of going for a 4-year projects and then we put it in front of our sellers and then it's useless. And also on the values, the recommendation, you saw it a bit also in the way we release things. We are trying to update it, and then we come back, and then we try to always assess the kind of uplift we can get and iterate on the thing.
Yeah, you also mentioned you did a lot of A/B testing and so forth, right? Yeah. So Eve just clarified a bit of the question. GMV of used fashion, for example, conversion rate went up as you presented, but also GMV ?
Yeah, you mean on the global, on the price of that. Yeah, I mean, I think that it followed the similar trend, but yeah, I mean, there's not the slide, obviously. As I said, the thing is fully implemented in fashion right now. I mean, I think it followed the opposite trend, but I don't have the numbers in my mind.
I hope this answers the question. Then another question is, what are the key features that you need to implement or release in the next year to make you a market leader? So more into the future, forward looking.
Oh, so then I need to bring my product managers online. I'm only focusing on the on the data ones. I can answer on the data ones a bit. So for me, the data ones that we saw, it's more like, yeah, there is already. I showed a bit what we are going to release on the next steps. For us, it's really bringing our algorithms also inside the website, like live, what I tried to say, like also having these signals that happens within a session and being more relevant inside the session. That's something that we will try to do. But of course, the thing that we need to do is also acquiring meaningful inventory. I mean, if there is nothing to sell, even if you have the best matchmaking in your search or the best recommendation algorithm, then you cannot make it work. So of course, the key challenge for us, it will also be sourcing all this meaningful inventory and making the selling step a bit easier, because that's really the major focus we have right now.
So maybe we will hear you coming next year to present us some more progress on your projects.
Yeah, hopefully, and maybe also other types of products.
Exactly. So there is another question. What infrastructure or provider are you using for your data lake, and why this one? That's a question I also wanted to ask.
So is there any of my data engineers in the call? No, we are mainly on the Google Cloud. Our data lake is BigQuery. So we are really sourcing everything from there. We actually had a standard data warehouse and BI team before until 2018, and really wanted to shift into more data lake streaming. So we moved our data sourcing to Kafka to get this data more close to real time. And we have our data lake there. And so mainly our data lake is in BigQuery. And on the top of that, of course, Python services,
I see. So mainly Google Cloud.
Yes.
Then another question.
But if someone from my team is there, they can also post in the comments. Please help. I know that Tom is there.
I think somebody already raised his hand, so to say. So another question would be as well, we have so many questions this time.
Oh my goodness.
What other customer success feedback do you work with other than direct sales figures?
So you mean on the quality of what we do? I get it that way.
I get it. Yeah, I guess so as well. Yeah.
So in the listing form that I showed, there would be also possibility to suggest for missing values, things like that. So we also want to make it easy if you don't find your thing to be able to insert things so that customers are not blocked. Because right now, one of the things is, of course, they would go to our customer care, so that's a bit more painful to give us feedback. So one of the key things that we try to do is to get this data feedback in the loop and learning from that. So then we hope that we are not too far off, right? Because then we have this direct sourcing of the data from the production platform. But otherwise, we are working also on in the search results. That's an example to ask also some how meaningful the search results were to you. So this kind of forms that the user can also give us feedback. And then we are able also to cross-check which are this type of search and trying to understand what could have gone wrong. So we also have this kind of things, for example.
Okay, I hope this also answered your question. Two other questions I can see. One would be, are you using artificial intelligence frame to extract attributes from text and images? And how is it integrated?
So we have our own modeling for the text one. So the thing that works in the 4 languages. So we built our own models to do that. And we have, in the beginning, we also added the Google Vision labels to this. So that's really custom made. We did that. And now we have, as we have our picture images, then we are combining the score and building all things. So that's all custom made. We didn't really we did some tests, of course, on the Google Cloud ML or this kind of things, like trying to run these things. But in the end, we're quite happy with the performance that we had. I think it's also because we have a lot of data from these 20 years, from all these titles, all these images. And right now we are at the level where retraining improves, but not that much in some of the things, because some titles come back again. So that also helps a lot, right?
Yeah, I see. Then there's one last question I can see from a Ricardo user.
Oh.
Quick question based on my own experience searching for art on Ricardo. Can each product only have one category?
So that's an extremely good question. So thanks a lot for the question, because yes, right now one product can have only one category on Ricardo in the current category tree. So you need to say it's going there and it will be shown there. But the idea with classification is also that you could have the same product that could be in several, because in the end, if you have, I don't know, a sport shoe, it could be a running shoe, but that could also go if you want to go to town, right? So it could be also in two categories. So that's where we want to go. We want to go to categories that are more groups based on the taxonomy that could be showed in several categories. And we know that the category selection on our listing form is quite painful for users, because they say, yeah, well, in the end, I could put it in 2 or 3, or maybe none that really fits. So we really want to have this taxonomy. So we reach a level where the category selection could become obsolete, and that we could show meaningful articles in many of them. So that's the ultimate goal, yes.
So thank you for the question, experienced Ricardo user. Another question came up. Why did you choose Google platform and services and not Azure or something like AWS?
So this, I think, Toby would be the best to answer. But I think from a historical point of view, we had Google Analytics, of course, and Google Analytics had this default dump into BigQuery that was already hosted by Google. So in the beginning, let's say, it was the easiest thing for us to move our standard on-premise data warehouse to BigQuery. That was a bit of a natural move in the beginning. But then, of course, there were also a couple of features, and then I encouraged Toby also to give more detail to my answers. But then there were also a couple of things that were decision points. We are using Google Cloud also for production systems. So Google Cloud is really the one we use everywhere. And yeah.
And Toby already provided some details on the chat. So thanks for that. Perfect as well. Team. I see there's a great comfortable environment in your team.
I told that she was one of the best.
So you want to make me blush?
Manager. I don't want to say the best because maybe other manager of mine are on the call. I don't want to create an issue. One of the best.
No, I mean, the thing is really, as you saw on the team, we have really, the idea of the team is to have many different kind of skill sets and being able to do this kind of projects all together and learn from each other, understand what a business analyst needs from a data engineer, etc. Understand what data is collected, making, then you know what you're looking at. So that's really the idea in the team also to have this. It's not like I can answer for everyone, of course. I mean, I know what the guys are doing, but I'm not the expert.
That sounds great. And everybody is just affirming you. She's the best there, right?
Oh God.
So now there's, I think, maybe one last good question.
Oh, please, an easy one.
Huh? Google has now a Looker. Why Tableau and not Looker?
I get you are not. You cannot answer, ask this question.
Also, for us,
please answer.
I mean, for the choice for Tableau for us was extremely. I mean, we were coming from a data warehouse with SQL Server, analysis services, Excel, cubes, things like that. So that was what we had before. And when we moved to BigQuery, having Tableau and the connector to BigQuery, being able to quickly build a connection, quickly access the data, that was something that we really enjoyed. But of course, when you have, when we say self-service, I'm always a bit careful because that's self-service, of course, but you have also definition of KPIs, definition of that data. It's not like you can really open up everything. So, but we could create very in record time connections to answer questions from our product managers, etc. So it was really, it really changed our life. So we're very happy. We're not planning to change.
And next year, when you come back, we want to see more charts done with Tableau.
Yes, I'm sorry for that. Well,
we are just kidding here. It's absolutely no problem.
Yeah, I mean, Adina, I don't think I'm not sure if she's in the call, but she's making really great work on Tableau and also the insights about that. So yeah, for sure we can show more next year.
So we are really curious to see what you're going to show us next year then. So I guess we are slowly coming to an end. If there are still some open questions, you can contact us, write an email. We will try to get back to you. And Laure will also try to answer your questions afterwards. So we're not out of this world. One last thing we would like to tell you for next time. I'm just going to share my screen. If I can find it, if it works. So we are always looking for great speakers like Laure just did, and for interesting topics, projects you're working on. Unfortunately, my screen is not showing up. But I guess, here we go. But we already said what our Tableau user group pages, I think. Yeah, it's not working. Unfortunately, I cannot share my screen. So maybe we will post our email addresses and the link to our Tableau user group in the chat. So please get in touch with us. We're always looking for speakers, and it's very hard to find good ones. Don't be afraid. And we have a Data Plus Women Zurich event every second month. So there's plenty of opportunities. And yeah, again, thank you, Laure, for the great presentation, insightful, and what you're doing there, and really inspiring.
Thank you very much.